Washoe County Library System welcomes you to our monthly series from the Nevada Historical Society presents High Noon with Neal Cobb. This afternoon's topic is learning about Nevada in wild ways with Wild Nevada host and producer Chris Orr. My name is Jennifer, and I'm happy to be here with you today. And now I would like to introduce Sherry Hayes-Zorn with the Nevada Historical Society.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We have a great program scheduled today with our wonderful speaker, but I am here to introduce our host, Neal Cobb, the wonderful historian that has been a great supporter for the Historical Society for many years, and he's so knowledgeable, and he really loves sharing Nevada and Reno history and letting people know about the oldest museum in the state. So our honorary curator, Neal Cobb. So hi, Neal. How are you?
Hi, Sherry, and thanks for the intro. Our speaker today, Chris Orr, has been with the PBS Reno, the PBS member station in Reno, for more than 23 years. Orr is a PBS Reno's Director of Art and Digital Marketing and a co-host of the travel adventure series, Wild Nevada. The award-winning Wild Nevada series, which features Orr and her co-host, well, could be Orr, Dave Santina. He's not going to appreciate that. Taking road trips and having adventures all over the Silver State. During her time at PBS Reno, Orr has developed multiple local and national websites, led numerous design projects, and launched the station's social media platforms, and has been a familiar on-air personality for the station. She now leads a station team that develops and maintains the station's online social media and print branding. Orr is a Nevada transplant, but is a proud Nevadan. This is where she calls home now, and we are happy to have her. She grew up in rural Idaho and moved to Reno with her family while she was in high school. She is an alum of the University of Nevada and the Reynolds School of Journalism at the University of Nevada. And as a quick side note, I have been to a lot of places in Nevada and just love this state. Been all over the place. And yet when I came home each time and I dial in Wild Nevada, here's Alvin McLean with Chris Orr and Dave Santina showing us a place that I'd never even heard of, much less been there. So this is a learning experience, even for anybody that is a native or hasn't gone or had the chance to go with these interesting people to see more and more and more of this great state. At this time, I'd like to welcome to High Noon, Chris Orr.
Thank you so much, Neal, and thank you to both the Washoe County Library System and to the Nevada Historical Society for having me here today. It is an absolute honor to be asked and to be able to share a little bit about Wild Nevada and what I've learned through my time with the series. Wild Nevada is, as Neal said, a travel adventure program that is produced by PBS Reno. We have been on air for more than 20 years, about 23 years. I started working on the series shortly after I came to work at the station. And to get started, if you're not familiar with Wild Nevada, or if you are, I always like to start with just the basic of how the show usually starts, which is sharing a couple of intros. In the first video, it's not only a few intros to give you a feel for the program, but also our very first one is the one that we start with. So how the show started from the get-go in the pilot episode. So with that.
Hi, I'm Dave Santina.
And I'm Chris Orr. Welcome to Wild Nevada.
We have a great trip planned for you for this program. Our destination is Austin. On the way, we're going to make 4 stops at Sand Mountain, at the Shoe Tree. We're going to have lunch at Eastgate, and we'll go hiking near Carroll Summit. We're going to get to Austin, we think, about 5:30 this afternoon. We'll spend the night there. Tomorrow, we're going to explore and see what Austin has to offer us.
But today we're starting from Grimes Point, one of Northern Nevada's largest petroglyph sites. It includes hundreds of petroglyphs, miles of hiking trails, and just over that hill, the Hidden Cave Archaeological Site. It's a place worth exploring on your own. If you're going to make it a starting point like we are, come early so you can take time to check it out.
I'm Dave Santina.
And I'm Chris Orr, and this time on Wild Nevada, we're exploring in and around the state capitol.
Carson City offers the Nevada history, some fascinating stories, and as you can see behind us, some impressive views.
That's coming up right now on Wild Nevada. This time we're way out east on the edge of the state. As you can see, I'm standing along the state line on Highway 50.
Well, so am I. I'm over here on the other side of the loneliest road. And behind me is the Border Inn. And this is the last stop for travelers, or it's the first stop, depending on which direction you're going. But since this show is not called Wild Utah, we are going west to revisit an old favorite, Great Basin National Park.
It's been a long time since we've been to this part of the state, so we're going to reacquaint ourselves with the park and see what's new in Baker.
But before we do that, we're going to Lehman Caves to join in the celebration of a special anniversary.
So this time we're starting in Tahoe City, which is about 10 miles west of the California-Nevada border and about halfway between our two adventures.
We want to show you some examples of the wide range of experiences that you can have all around the Tahoe Rim Trail. We are up early because one of those experiences means that Chris is going to have a long day.
Actually, a couple of long days because I'm headed up to the Desolation Wilderness for an overnight and a bit of a through hike on what's one of my favorite parts of trail.
Well, I'm going to make it much easier on myself, and I'm trying one of the many beautiful day hikes that you can find at various points all around the lake.
Well, I'm headed this way.
Well, mine is this way, so I will leave you to it.
I'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
So with that, part of what I wanted to share there is that with the series being on air for more than 20 years, you kind of see the evolution of not only the series there, but also of Dave and I. Because one of the things that is so often said is that we may not look like they expect us to look, because if they've only watched older episodes, there is 20 years of episodes that are in reruns and on air, not just in the Reno and in the PBS Reno service area, but this map actually shows you where Wild Nevada airs throughout the PBS system. We're very proud of the fact that Wild Nevada, the various seasons that have been distributed through the PBS system with American Public Television have aired in all of these states. So all of those gold dots are the PBS member stations that we know have aired Wild Nevada. In addition to that, the series is also available to stream across not only the country, but around the world through the PBS app and also on our website. We don't geofence the episodes, so anybody can watch them anywhere. And so, and that means that with all of those gold dots, the stations, PBS Reno's Wild Nevada is actually been seen in about 70, I think it's like 72% of the PBS stations throughout the country. So that evolution of the series, part of that is that as we knew the series was getting distributed more and more, we wanted to make sure that we were providing information for not just those that live here, but also those that may just want to learn about the beauty and the history of the Silver State. And so it has helped us shape the series, but it's also, the series, of course, has shaped us. And as Neal said, I am not a native to Nevada. So when I first moved here, I really knew more about Idaho, having grown up there in my social studies classes and my civics classes, than I did about Nevada. And so when the opportunity came to work on the Wild Nevada series, I really wanted to be involved in the series. I was a somewhat reluctant on-camera host initially, but I really wanted to be able to join in the exploration and the fun and the research of the series. And one of the things that I definitely maybe wasn't prepared for, but have totally embraced in the course of Wild Nevada is that the Silver State has an amazing opportunity for adventure. I'd always considered myself a fairly subdued person until I got to work on this series. And Nevada, with its opportunities for amazing recreation and amazing adventure, has really shaped that part of my personality. And to give you a little sense of what I'm talking about, I've got, of course, a video example. So here we go.
Simon has me open the jump door. The sudden rush of wind whips at me, and I find myself staring at the ground 15,000 feet below. It finally hits me that I'm actually about to jump. I want to say to Simon, come on and let's just get this over with. But before I can, he pitches us out of the plane and into our free fall. And then the only thing I can think of is screaming.
We're going to be starting at about our hike here at about 11,400 to 11,200. We're going to climb up to 11,650, and that shows it here on this big peak. We're going to drop down, go through these saddles, and that's this small one here. And we're going to climb this really big one. This is the biggest one. This is Pyramid Peak, 11,775. And we're going to drop down, and we're going to climb back up to this next one, which is 11,772 feet. So we're gonna gain back everything we just lost. So this is gonna be hard on our knees, and it's gonna be hard on our lungs, and then we'll be there.
This is what I'm worried about right there.
Three, two, one, go. Oh, look at this. What a fun way to sightsee. The ride is really smooth and we get to enjoy 360 degrees of scenery from a point of view we'd never normally get. Awesome.
Alvin has decades of caving experience, so we feel safe in his hands. He emphasizes that no one should attempt to explore a cave without an experienced guide and proper equipment. Climbing on location is a very different experience than scaling the wall in a climbing gym. Instead of exercising skills in a controlled environment, here a climber contends with both the rock and the elements. In addition, rather than the easily seen fixtures of a climbing wall, I'm facing a seemingly sheer wall of sandstone. But the faint white dusting of climbing chalk on the surface of the rock is both guide and encouragement. It helps point me toward the holds that the earlier climbers found and used.
You want to keep your arms in and you want to just use your feet and feel that balance. Try to keep your hips in and your chest away.
Part of the challenge of rock climbing is locating the holds, cracks, and crannies in the rock that will support your ascent. What appears to be an impossibly small groove or flaw on the surface can be a surprisingly stable place to balance a hand or a shoe, and in some cases, just a fingertip or a toe or two. As we begin our ride, Gary explains the simple commands that allow us to communicate with our camels.
It's clear that we've quickly mastered these commands by the way we exhibit total control over Michael and Milagro. Look up. Oh, is this the way it's gonna be then? No, come on, up. Milagro, up.
Walk up, Michael. Walk up. Ow.
Love that.
Michael. Michael. Walk up, Michael. Oh. And me without a sports bra. Oh. Every time they take that initial down, it's a shocker. Okay, and it's leg in front.
Push down, Milagro. There you go, all the way. Good job. Right. We came to an understanding by the end of the trip. How you feel?
I feel good.
You know?
Yeah.
I thought I'd be walking like John Wayne, but I feel all right. Okay, Chris made it down, so I should be able to do this, right? I've been told that experienced mountain bikers can spot a novice just by the way a person rides. I'm thinking that right about now, I'm looking like I have never been on a bike before in my life. I just want to make it down this steep drop without too much trouble. I feel a little out of control here, but hey, I made it down, so maybe I'm not such a bad rider after all. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I am. Meanwhile, I feel like I got this kayaking thing down. I mean, the water's doing most of the work anyway. I just got to steer a little bit. And what was the one thing Randy said we got to look out for? Overhanging something? Oh, right. That's what I get for not paying attention. I deserved it.
I got into a bush and it was just all on me. And I realized as I leaned to get out of the way that I've gone too far. And I went over.
Thanks for letting us stop for a second so I can dry off a little bit, a little soggy, but you know what? I consider that a public service. So remember, don't get happy. When you think you got it figured out, you might not. So I learned my lesson. Wonder if Snowshoe Thompson felt like this. He was wearing wooden tennis rackets on his feet at the time, I'm sure.
And had a big pack of mail.
It's only a little over 2 miles from the parking area to Winnemucca Lake, but you'd think it was longer just because of the variety of landscapes we've seen in a short distance. Snowshoes also have a way of making a hike feel more like an epic adventure. We come over a rise and our destination is revealed.
There it is.
Hey,
Winnemucca Lake.
we made it.
Yeah. It's a pretty incredible place. It's so amazing that it's right here in our backyard.
Gorgeous.
A lot of people really enjoy exploring and going to find new places. And with post-World War II in the 50s and 60s, people loved to go off-roading. Then they went from exploring to, all right, let's do this and let's try to race from point A to point B in the desert. And so the vehicles have evolved over this period of time to handle really rough terrain and to go over it at a high rate of speed. And that's what I really enjoy, the vehicle's ability and the technical ability with and the craftsmanship that you see in a lot of these different vehicles that we see today. It's pretty awesome. Today, we're actually out here, we're testing and tuning this truck. We're tuning the shock absorbers, and vehicle tuning is a really important part of developing an off-road car.
Sam invites me to ride in the truck while he takes some test runs. I'm excited to get a taste of desert racing. Then we hit the woods. Yeah, we're testing the shock absorbers all right. This is unreal. For a minute, I was tense, but then I let go and treated the ride like I do an airline flight, where I trust a pilot because I don't know how to fly, and I sure don't know how to drive like this.
So part of the sharing of those adventures is, as we say, it's a travel adventure series. And in the course of having these adventures, one of the things that I've learned is that it's not just always the activity, it's sharing that activity. And so often for me, the motivation to do some of these crazy things like skydiving or rock climbing or, even some of these extreme hikes that I've done is it's the views, it's the experience, it's the chance to get to really see the Silver State in a way that that you have to earn it sometimes. And part of what I love to be able to do is get to share those views with our audience. Not only because I think does it sometimes inspire our viewers to go out and find these views for themselves, but if you're not able to do some of these activities, you still get to experience it through our eyes. And when I say these views, that's in my mind some of the real beauty and the real stars of Wild Nevada. It's our locations and it's those views that truly make the Silver State the amazing place that it is. And so again, the way I approach a presentation is you'd rather watch the video than hear me always talk. So I've got views for you to enjoy. So here we go.
As we continue uphill, the landscape changes and becomes even more dramatic. Eventually, we reach a plateau which features some wonderful sights as the valley is revealed.
All right, one of the great views of this overlook trail is this mountain right here. It's pretty sought after for professional mountain climbers. It's called Tabletop Mountain, or there's Square Top Mountain. It's only accessible though with professional rock climbing equipment, but it's gorgeous.
Just absolutely a gorgeous place to go run to, huh?
Yep, it sure is. And there's Monkey Rock.
Monkey Rock. Well, I mean, views all the way around, but I figured I had to bring my monkey dog to Monkey Rock because that's what I call her, my monkey dog.
And this is just a typical Lake Tahoe spot. You get up on a knob with these rocks and with a great 360-degree view of Lake Tahoe. This is why I trail run to discover a place like this. So thank you. This is what a great spot to be.
400 to 1,000 years ago, there were bison that lived here. And lots of times those bones will actually erode out of the hillsides. The bison probably went in there to be sheltered, and then the big rains came and there was a mudslide which trapped them in there. Now, we wouldn't let you wander around in any of these if that were to happen today.
I want to go explore them. I want to go see if I can even find them.
Go right into this one over here.
We're looking forward to this drive, which we understand is beyond scenic.
We've just started driving and it's already getting pretty. This pond with all the wildflowers inspires us to take a few pictures before we drive on. After a few miles more, we're beginning to understand why so many people love the journey to Jarvage.
This is Sunflower Reservoir.
This is incredible.
I cannot think of a better name for that.
Oh, wow. Suddenly we're in the forest. We got a little elevation, I guess, and now there's lots of trees and this great canyon.
It keeps coming, one spectacular vista after another.
Kirk, I know that Friends of Nevada Wilderness build trails. Why didn't you build one today before we came up here?
Because this is a wilderness area.
Okay.
You can't do it on your own. Go home.
Look at what we did. Look at that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
From every direction.
Yep.
And so this whole thing is masquerading?
Well, where you see around that last corner with the edge, you see there's a road in the far distance that starts switching up.
Yeah.
That is Sheldon National Wildlife Refuge.
Oh.
But the whole thing is called Massacre Rim.
You get up here and you look out at it, and it's so easy to understand why it's important to save places like this and preserve places like this. It is breathtaking up here. It is gorgeous.
So most valleys are V-shaped. This one happens to be U-shaped. This is a glaciated valley. And so you have one glacier coming down through Lamoille Canyon and one on the right fork of Lamoille Canyon. That's what makes this canyon so fascinating.
How high are we right here?
We're about 7,000 feet right here.
So we're already starting to climb.
Yep.
At this point, we can really see a change in the terrain. Liberty Pass is above 10,000 feet, and casual hikers can definitely feel it at this elevation.
So here we are, Liberty Pass, around 10,500 feet. Here we're coming over. We're coming right over. The first thing you see is Wines Peak in front of us.
Oh,
It's absolutely gorgeous.
So we made it to the top.
Yeah, we are with the mountain goat.
That's a nice little climb. I feel like I did something today.
Yeah, feels great to make it.
Back here, there's no mechanized equipment. So you're not supposed to take your snowmobiles or your motorcycles or chainsaws.
Feet only?
Yep. But now you begin to take a look at one of those spectacular views in the movies.
Wow.
Liberty Lake. Deep, has nice fishing abilities here.
I have said wow a lot on this hike, and it does not do this hike justice.
It's true. You start running out of words.
That's pretty spectacular. Fab Lake right below us, Castle Lake over there, North Furlong Lake over there. Then you come up and you hike right up to Wines Peak, and you keep on going down to Overland Lake, and then finally at Harrison Pass. That's what they call the Ruby
That
Crest
is
Trail.
so amazing. One of those views that it's hard to even absorb because it's so pretty. Well, we made it to the summit of Peavine, so we made it to the top. It's a little windy up here, but the views are amazing.
Boy, the views are amazing. So we have a beautiful view, kind of looking south down into the Truckee River Canyon as it comes out of the canyon, sort of in the Verdi area, and then starts flowing east toward Reno. And we can see Mount Rose also to the south. in
We
the
were right
distance.
up on the top of it.
We were, yeah, sure were. A little easier getting up on top of Peavine today.
Yeah.
And then in between, well, they've got the Truckee River and then Peavine here. And so it's really interesting story here where the river is found kind of a low spot between two areas, two big fault blocks that have been kind of uplifted thanks to the faults that are bounding them. And then there's sort of a lull in offset along those faults about where the Truckee River is. And then the river naturally found that and comes out of the Sierras and found that low spot and flowing off to the east toward the Great Basin.
So really, in a lot of ways, you do have the two ranges really bookending what we call the Truckee Meadows now, right? That river corridor.
Yep, they sure do.
Oh, wow. Not a bad spot, huh? Look at that view.
What a gorgeous lake view.
You picked a great day to come up here today.
It is amazing. It is really beautiful. You know, I now not only understand the attraction to cross-country skiing, because it's a lot of fun, but to why you would do it here, because this view is amazing.
Yeah, general rule of life, I think, when you see a sign on a path that says Lake View, you better follow that. See what's at the top. This is spectacular and so worth it. I will definitely look forward to coming back again. This is a place that's worth revisiting.
That view is very worth it.
Up top, we're getting closer to our goal, but with each step higher, the climb gets tougher. And each step forward requires more effort. I think the air's getting off thin.
Yeah.
I'm panting more than I was.
Yeah, I am feeling it a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I'm so close.
We're almost there.
Oh. Wow. We reached our goal. You know, I'm not a big high five person, but this deserves a high five.
Hi.
It is really beautiful in every possible direction. Thank you for bringing me up here.
My pleasure.
Just to have the landscape all around you open up. I don't think getting on top of the world can get much better than it.
And here you really appreciate what the elevation does. You know, the elevation captures the moisture, you get the trees.
Changes the
Yeah.
terrain.
Yeah. Here
Feels
we are.
absolutely great to get up here and have earned this view.
We did have to work for it.
Have a lot of appreciation for what they mean when they say this is not a casual hike.
No.
You're not going to get this view any other way. Thank you for bringing me up here.
You're most welcome. My favorite place in the world. Here we are. The earth is never going to be the same. But here we are at this point in time, you know, and
I'm not worrying about anything other than absorbing this moment right now.
well, that's what these trees have been doing, sitting here.
And these mountains have
Yeah.
been doing, right? They've just been
Right.
enjoying their moment in time.
Yeah. And those bristlecone pines for 3,000 years.
That crystal clear, cold water. Anytime I hear Alpine Lake, I think of this place.
Fontanellis is a special treasure.
So really, when you protect landscapes like this and destinations like this, you're preserving it for the next person or the next trip out. You're just scratching the edge of it if you just see Tahoe. I mean, you've got to see more.
Absolutely.
We have our first view of Tahoe in a day.
Yeah. Right below us, we have Upper Velma, and then of course Tahoe.
There are so many views on this trail, and none of them are bad.
Oh my God, it's just absolutely breathtaking. You feel like you're on top of the world.
As we reach for the summit, we are rewarded with absolutely breathtaking views.
Look at that. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's the Reese River Valley out there. That's where we were driving this morning to get over Big Creek Summit.
Looking right back at Bunker Hill.
I feel like I'm standing on top of a topo map.
Kind of are, yeah, totally.
It's just absolutely beautiful.
There's something about the Toyabe that's just pretty unique and magical.
See why you guys are putting so much work into it and encouraging people to come out here. It's definitely worth visiting. Thanks for bringing me up. This is amazing.
Absolutely. Glad you could join us.
Yes, we love sharing this beautiful part of our state with everyone we can.
So part of the joy of working on a series like Wild Nevada is luckily we don't have shows that are only just some of these collections that I put together for the presentation, because as you can tell, obviously you need a bigger thesaurus because when you travel the state of Nevada, terms like breathtaking and amazing and wow are literally part of every episode. and you know, but at the same time, it is absolutely part of what is appropriate to say, because when you have these experiences, to be able to share them with the audience, it is a way of conveying what it's like to be there in person. And I can never gush enough about the beauty of this state, because one of the things that I am so fortunate to get to do in the course of my time with Wild Nevada is to really be our audience's eyes and opportunity to see those views. And I myself will never get tired of them. One of the questions so often we're asked is, are we out of ideas or are we out of possibilities for shows? And I always think that until Nevada runs out of views, I don't think we have the opportunity to run out of ideas, because there is so much to see and enjoy in the state of Nevada. One of the things too, in addition to the adventure opportunities and the amazing sightseeing that Nevada offers, is of course the incredible, rich history that is part of this state. And when we are telling the story of Nevada, what is amazing and rich to share is how layered the history of the state is, that it is not just one experience or a linear history. There are layers upon layers of stories. And being able to go to a location and share some of those layers is, again, one of the great opportunities for the Wild Nevada series, but also for our audience, and helping them understand that some of these communities that maybe all they do is drive through or fly over have such rich and fascinating stories to tell and to share, and to encourage people to truly slow down, maybe take a stop, visit a museum, visit a monument. It's a very important part of the Wild Nevada series. When it came to putting together a little bit of a history montage for this presentation, it was a little challenging, not because I didn't have a lot to choose from, but because rather than little snippets, it's harder to share some of the history without, really sharing a whole episode. So I did my best to put together just a sample of some of the histories that we've explored and discovered. But of course, this is just a very small sampling.
Here we meet Donna Cossette from the Churchill County Museum and Archives. She's an experienced guide here at Hidden Cave, so we're in good hands.
Welcome. I'm glad you guys are actually coming out and taking a tour today with us.
Well, it's the first time, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time.
I do want to mention really quick where we're at. You're in Paiute country. We are Toi Takata, Kup Takata, and Nagai Takata. That's the tribes that I'm from. Those are the bands from northern Nevada. Toi Takata is cattail eaters. We live in the Stillwater Wildlife Refuge. That was our traditional Aboriginal homelands. And so we really try to have respect out here. All right, well, we're going to start this way. Oftentimes people think you go straight up. You can, but this is my tour.
I get the Donna tour. This is better.
That's right. Here on our first stop, I wanted to bring you over to the petroglyphs, but our people call them Tunumamamui.
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 I don't think I can even try that one.
And this is our father's writings. And you can obviously see, looking on this, some of them are not so obvious as to what is being etched on there. And you can see that all these basalt boulders out here, they're laying all over the place. And they have what we call a desert patina on them. And this desert patina takes a lot of time. It's like a chemical process with the water, the elements out here in the stone itself. And it turns into this really dark color. And after, if just a little bit of it's removed, you can start seeing an image form. Find oftentimes they're in locations that will tell a message, to somebody in passing, or it will tell about the location. Because when you're looking at these, you have to imagine, if you don't know what they are, you have to kind of transcend yourself back into the time of when they were created. What did the environment look like? Possibly these might have been here at the time when this whole area was marshland that you see down here. Lush cattails, tules, scirpus, water flowing, and what are the things that you might find out here? So then you start looking at the ones in the back over there. That one might look like a net, perhaps, to net
Fish?
ducks,
Duck?
fish.
I love our father's writing. I think that's a lovely way to refer to him.
So here we are. We're right here at the entrance of the cave. It wasn't that bad, was it?
No, not at all.
And before we go in, many of these locations like caves, rock shelters, they're a cultural site to our people. And I often say a prayer. And that's our Father above us. Bless us for this day, and we hope that you go home safe. So this is Hidden Cave. What do you think?
It's pretty
A
cool.
lot bigger than I expected.
Yes, kind of makes you wonder how far and how deep some of these crevices go and how high up. Is there stuff on the other side of that? Is there stuff way back there? And the answer probably is yes. If you can see way over there, there's another whole entrance all the way over there.
So who discovered this?
This was actually rediscovered, I should say, by a couple of young boys. And they came out here hearing about some lost treasure from the Wells Fargo stagecoach that was hidden up in the mountains somewhere. And they came across a little hole. They put their arm in there and they could feel that there was more than just cool air coming out. It was a bigger cave in here. And what was happening outside during the 1920s, you had other farms starting to develop their farmlands. So there was a big process of getting good quality fertilizer. And the closest kind of fertilizer you can get in our area is backguano. But as the backguano miners started excavating their cache out of here, they start running across in many, not just this one, many other caves where they start finding Native American artifacts, which piqued the interest of other people who want to excavate. This cave was excavated during the 20s and the 30s, and then it was actually excavated in like 1979, 1980. We've always been depicted as if we are a people of the past and that we were not here. Well, we are here. We are alive. We are still very vibrant. And we don't live in Connie or cattails or wickiups or teepees. We live like everybody else.
We feel privileged to have seen Hidden Cave. It really creates an appreciation of the lives of so many generations who came through the cave over the years.
Mark Bassett is the museum's executive director.
Right. Thanks so much for meeting us.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Mark.
Hello, Dave.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome to the Nevada Northern Railway National Historic Landmark right here in Ely, Nevada.
Thanks. It's beautiful. This building is pretty striking by itself. Does this go all the way back to the beginning in 1906?
Actually, it comes in 1907. Railroad comes to town in September of 06, and starting right afterwards, they start building this building. This is the machine shop for the repair of the locomotives, and next door is the engine house where the locomotives were stored.
It looks like you still have a lot going on in there.
We still have a lot going on. It's still doing today what its designers and builders intended over a century ago. We're still repairing and maintaining the original locomotives right here. The number one question we're asked is, where's the museum? Because people come to a museum expecting one building.
Right.
Here we have 70 buildings and structures.
Right. It's all the museum.
It is all the museum. And what makes this a National Historic Landmark, and that is the highest level of recognition the federal government can bestow on a historic property, is its completeness. And this is the last place like this in the United States.
The reason it's so complete is that everything that was here in June of 1983, when the railroad closed, is still here. The workers had experienced temporary layoffs before, so they left here expecting to come back to work pretty quickly, but it never happened. The museum has not only the buildings, workshops, and equipment, but complete paperwork from all the way back to the early 1900s, including ledgers and blueprints laying out construction plans for the railroad and the town.
This is locomotive 93, and you can see there on its builder's plate, it was built and delivered here in January of 1909. Now, this building is 2 years old, okay?
At the time.
At the time, correct. And this is what makes us a National Historic Landmark. This locomotive has been here now for over a century, and we're still maintaining it here in the original building, using the original tools and using the original techniques.
How many locomotives do you maintain?
We actually maintain 4 steam locomotives and about a dozen diesel locomotives. Yes, wow. Welcome to the engine house. This is locomotive number 40, and she is the queen. She was delivered here in July of 1910.
And has been here ever since?
And it's been here ever since.
What makes this the queen?
Well, if you take a look at her drivers, they're 69 inches in diameter. She hauled the passenger trains and she carried 4.5 million people to Ely.
Wow.
And the state of Nevada has symbols. The state bird is the bluebird, state flower is the sagebrush. The state locomotive is Nevada Northern Railway 40.
We're actually meeting one of the state symbols.
You are meeting one of the state symbols, and if you come here on the weekend, you can ride behind a state
Oh, how
symbol.
much fun. Well, I thought you were one of the state symbols. But all right, well, maybe together, we'll call you a team.
It's a gray, so.
I'll call you a team.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I'm ready for a ride. I'm excited.
Well, we could go for a ride if you'd like.
Every time I step onto a train, I feel a sense of anticipation and nostalgia. It's like stepping directly into the past. Alan introduces us to a very important member of this forest population.
We call this a monument tree. It's the tallest Joshua tree in the state of Nevada. We have the Nevada Division of Wildlife come out and do an official measurement so that we knew it was the largest. Height is one of three things that they measure. One's the crown width, it's the widest point, and then their circumference right about 4 feet off the ground. So it's a combination of those two and the formula they have that determines what measurements are for the state records. Best guess is that's probably around 700 years old.
That would mean this tree began growing in the 1300s. Jarbidge is the most remote town we've ever visited. The locals tell us there are 12 year-round residents, and that increases to about 50 in the summer. But even so, there seems to be no shortage of activity here, with campers and hikers flocking to the famously beautiful Jarbidge Wilderness.
We want to get to know this town, so who better to ask than a couple of longtime residents who grew up here? Virgil Larios and Fred Thatcher were schoolboys here back in the 40s, so they know pretty much everything about this town.
This is part of the outdoor inn owned by Dot. Dot and Jack bought the bar, I think in 1970 or thereabout.
I think it's a funny idea of staying in a barn.
Yeah.
Chris grew up in the farm. She probably feel really at home.
Barns can be kind of comfortable, especially with the right accommodations.
So Virgil, I know your family goes back even before there was a Jarbidge, right?
The word is, as I've heard it, how much of it's true and how much of it's not, I'm not sure, but my grandfather came in around 1904 and 1905. It grew into a fairly big ranch, bought his mining claim and stayed on Buck Creek till he died. My grandmother on my mother's side came into Jarbidge from Missouri right at the start of the big gold deal here in Jarbidge around 1909.
And so that's when she met your grandfather?
When she came here, she was actually married to one of the Chris twins who were pretty famous here in Jarbidge. And later she divorced him and married his best friend.
So one of the things too with history, again, there's so much over the course of 20 years that we have learned and that we could share because every community has fascinating stories. But when we talk about the history of this state and we talk about the history of the Wild Nevada series, I would be remiss without, as Neal mentioned, bringing up Alvin McLean. So Alvin McLean, this next clip will give you a little more about him if you're not familiar with him, but we met Alvin in our very first episode, and even the episodes that we made when Alvin wasn't in them, he was truly our second or third producer because he inevitably gave us ideas, helped with research, and even now, these years later, whenever we make an episode, he very often comes into conversation. And I just feel like he is still part of every episode that we make. So it would be remiss of me not to share a little more about Alvin.
All right, we're gonna take this trail, we're gonna go up over this summit, and then we'll have a nice view of the backside of McLean Peak.
This hike is a special one for us. We met Alvin McLean on the very first day we ever worked on Wild Nevada, and Alvin took us on a hike.
What's really great right now, you see the rose hips, they're just perfect for making tea right now.
He was so enthusiastic and friendly that we invited him again and again. And Alvin always shared something new and exciting about Nevada with us. He was one of a kind.
So where's your favorite place to hike?
Oh, I really don't have a favorite place. Matter of fact, I just call Nevada.
Alvin died in 2006, and making this program is just not the same without him. When we found out there was a peak named for him, well, we just had to see it. How did you meet Alvin? How did you know him?
Well, working at the Nevada Bureau of Mines and Geology, and I already knew who he was, and so I'd have conversations with him, and I was fascinated, always have been, about the Winnemucca Lake area. It's always just been awesome to me. And so Alvin and I many times would just stand in the hall and have conversations. And the most memorable conversations I had with him were about Winnemucca Lake, and he described all of the petroglyph sites around Winnemucca Lake. And so as we deliberated over the considerations and the different sites, our board, the Nevada State Board on Geographic Names, felt that this was the best candidate. They really liked it. Hey, look, there's where we were earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
You see the cave rock shelters are right down there.
Beautiful view.
All the way around. I mean, anywhere you look, it's pretty stunning.
And one of my favorite memories of Alvin, I think about going out and exploring with him, and I like to think of myself as a fairly active person, but I just had such a hard time keeping up with him. If I could keep up with a man that was, 40 years my senior, I was so proud of myself. Oh my gosh, look at that view.
I want to go over there.
Okay.
How do we get to there?
So from here, we get down into that crevasse, and then we have to scramble up the rocks to get on top of McLean Peak.
All right. Looking forward to seeing Alvin's peak from Alvin's point of view.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know he would have gotten to the
He
top.
would have loved it.
I bet he was there.
All right, let's hit that.
The last climb to the peak is the most challenging, with 3- and 4-point scrambling required almost the entire way. After a few minutes of very focused climbing, we finally reached the top.
What a view. Oh,
Man, is this awesome?
take your breath away. It's gorgeous. Alvin would be proud.
Thanks for bringing us up here. What a
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for joining
great
me.
spot.
This has been a fantastic day. We need to sign the registry. Let's see, it's got to be around here somewhere. I think it's right. Here we go. His trait, when you see Alvin, he was so easy to talk to, down to earth. And he's probably the most esteemed, knowledgeable Nevadan that we knew. And his knowledge came about, it was boots on the ground. And he was out there. He knew every place in Nevada. He knew its intimate details. And he was very modest and could share it with you. And it inspired you to get out there and enjoy it as well.
So again, Alvin is still very much part of our series, and we owe so much to him. I think not only with the Wild Nevada series but as individuals. And I think the state really, there's been key people in the state that has helped keep the history and the adventure alive. And he was definitely one of them. And we have been all benefited from it. very quickly, before we go into question and answer, I wanted to let you know what's ahead for Wild Nevada. So as the series has continued to evolve, the next stage is we are making new episodes. So I am currently making new episodes for season 7 of Wild Nevada, and hosting and producing. Dave, my co-host, is working on a companion podcast series that we're actually launching next week, next Monday. So here's a little more about that.
If you enjoy the Wild Nevada series, we have some good news for you.
A new season of Wild Nevada is coming, and I'm working on it right now. You can look for those new episodes starting in December.
Now, if you need a Wild Nevada fix before then, you can join me for Wild Nevada Cast. It's a podcast to complement the Wild Nevada television series. You can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts.
So join me in December for the new episodes of Wild Nevada.
And join me for Wild Nevada Cast.
And to give you just a little sample of what I've been working on, just a few of the visuals. Again, there's never a bad view in Nevada, or just even slightly over the border. A couple of these images are from California, I will confess to that, but just barely over the border. So me and the crew, and so those new episodes will be starting in December. Dave's podcast is starting, as he said, on Monday, and will be available wherever you want or listen to podcasts and on the PBS Reno website. And so with that, I know I've gotten right there to time, so I'll turn it over in case we have any questions.
That was wonderful, Chris. Very, very impressive. And I know, I was gonna say, we've got a couple, let's see, we've got a question, but then also, I had a couple questions, and I'm sure Neal does as well. Let me read the first question here. Since 80% of Nevada is owned by the federal government, do your shows include these lands?
We do. Yeah, we absolutely, with the public lands, we definitely do include public lands within our episodes. What our philosophy is, of course, is that we are tourism forward. We are follow our adventure. So when we produce an episode, we try to always have it be something that a person can recreate. So we very rarely allow special access or, a situation where a person can't repeat it. So, because again, we want to make sure that if we're promoting the activity or the trip, that it can be duplicated. So we may talk about an area that is off limits, but we'll just talk about it from the fence. So, Area 51 or something of that nature. We're not going to go and show you us touring it if you can't do it yourself.
Okay. Neal, you had a question or comment?
Yes, would you explain the value of understanding tree line?
So absolutely. So, there's so many parts of when you're out exploring, and especially if you are a person enjoying some of those high elevation hikes. And so I made a joke yesterday evening during a practice session about how important it is to value the tree line in case you need a tree for privacy. We'll put it that way. So, and I always say, and so I included there some video from when we climbed Wheeler Peak. And Wheeler Peak was exactly one of those examples, because a huge portion of that hike to get to the summit of Wheeler Peak, which is the third highest mountain in the state, is above tree line. So as you go, you take that moment to realize this might be the only privacy you have for several hours. We really do, the nature of this episode, of these shows, is that we have the experience. So not only do we show the top of Wheeler, but we got to get you to there. So that means we have to do it too.
Let you off the hook. Tell us about the freshwater lobsters.
Oh, well, so the freshwater lobsters was one of those situations where um very early on in the Mina and Luning area, there was a gentleman that used to advertise lobster from the side of the road. And we stopped and we actually visited him and had a little bit about him and the fact he was growing lobster in Nevada on the side of the road. And and again, it comes into that question of private access, and it was open to the public. He allowed people to come. What we didn't realize was he wasn't permitted for it. And so I don't think we shut him down, but he did get shut down shortly after we visited. And I always feel bad that maybe we were the reason people that wanted to shut him down found out about it.
Well, I know you got more questions coming, so I'll butt out.
Oh, no. We have a comment saying, kudos to your cameraman. He's had to take all of those hikes toting a camera. So absolutely, you see other shows and, you're seeing the main person, but you got to remember that you got your cameraman in the water or whatever, getting those shots. So
they truly work harder than myself or with Dave. I mean, truly, because they are doing everything that we are doing, carrying gear, and very often sometimes having to run ahead or fall behind and then catch back up. And so more and more you'll see little snippets, especially when we can, giving the crew some credit because they work really hard. And Alex and Joey and Tim and Martine, all of the guys over the years that have hauled cameras for us, I always consider them like brothers because they really work hard.
So, have you guys been incorporating more drone footage as well as time goes on? Because it's amazing how it can be used today, and depending on the size, they're easier to carry. And
Yes. And so we do, when possible, include drone. We do my director and main camera is a certified drone pilot. We have actually two certified drone pilots at the PBS Reno station. We are, though, always very cognizant of making sure that we're in a place where we can fly the drone because of limitations when it comes to wilderness areas or wildlife refuges and preserves. So we always make sure that we are treating our locations with the respect that, again, we would want anyone visiting. And so, but those moments when we can fly the drone, the footage is pretty amazing. There, within some of that, the view montage that I showed was part of an episode from the Toyabe Crest Trail. And that view from above, it really made me love the drone footage because it was probably the only way we could have really captured what that experience was like, because that mountain range was phenomenal and the drone gave you that sense of space and air that you feel when you're on that trail.
okay. Yeah, I just have appreciated seeing more of that. Just it gets you a different perspective, or like you said, you can see more 360 and just bigger views. So I always find that fascinating. We have another person who said, I've been watching your show for years and I love it. You're such a great ambassador for Nevada and your enthusiasm really shows. I love that you are such a normal girl and don't appear to be ultra marathon or Ironman type. I'm inspired by you, and I have a map of Nevada with all the types of places I want to go. Thanks to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Sometimes I feel like I should be, more of the Iron Man, but I also like to go into the Martin and have a good Basque meal. So I like to balance both. So
Absolutely. So I had a question. what was your like the episodes over years? So we were talking before. So how many episodes do you want to talk? How many episodes you guys have filmed so far?
Absolutely. I think current count is, I think we're getting pretty close to around 100 episodes of Wild Nevada itself. I know that we're well above 90 now. And then we have a couple of specials. We did an hour-long special in 2014. And then when we brought the series back into weekly episodes in 30 minutes and continued from there. And then during the pandemic, we created a companion series called Wild Nevada Memories, because we were not able to travel, of course, during the shutdown. And so we shared, we picked episodes from our other seasons, and we shared a lot of the behind the scenes stories, because of the fact that we do these episodes in real time. We go and we take these hikes and we make the road trips. There are a lot of stories that you don't see within those 30 minutes of Wild Nevada. There are those times where, whether we got lost or there's always behind the scenes stories, timberline stories, or anything of that nature. And so being able to share some of those through the Wild Nevada Memories was a lot of fun. And there has been discussion about doing another round of those episodes. And I kind of hope that we do, because being able to share some of what it takes to make just what you see within an episode is a lot of fun.
Well, and I think too is that you have to take so much more footage than you're going to use anyway, and that depending on how much time, there are things you have to leave out, I would think.
There's a huge amount that we leave out, because in the course of filming a Wild Nevada, the actual usable footage, we very often shoot with 2 cameras, sometimes even additional, whether it's a GoPro or what we call a gimbal, which is kind of even smaller than a GoPro and a little more portable. It's become my main camera guy, Alex's best friend, is his gimbal, this little stick camera, and then the drone. So within all of that, we can have up to 4 to 6 to more hours of footage that we then distill down into a 30-minute episode. So there is a lot of footage that we don't necessarily get to use. In today's world, though, in addition to something like Wild Nevada Memories, we are more and more hoping to be able to do some additional digital shorts, whether it's on the station, social media, or on our YouTube channel. We're really hoping to be able to do more of that with these new episodes. And then too, with the podcast series that Dave is putting together, it allows us to tell maybe some of those additional stories that don't make it into the episodes themselves.
Oh, I think that's great. Neal, you had a question?
Well, I wanted to apologize again for the host being a horse. That wasn't all that funny. Really got me going. But I wanted to thank Chris for her time and her personality. This has been a fantastic program today. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a real honor.
And I'm signing off.
And just like Neal said, thank you, Chris. It was a lovely program, and hope to see you at the Historical Society soon to do more research for your next episodes and images and things you're needing. So very cool. So thank you, everyone, for attending today's program. We really appreciate it. And as always, we so appreciate our partnership with the Washoe County Library System. And I hope you will check us out next month, or check previous episodes that are on the YouTube channel. So I'll send it back to Jennifer.
Okay. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Chris Orr from Wild Nevada, Sherry Hayes-Zorn and Neal Cobb from the Nevada Historical Society, and John, our Washoe County Library System tech wizard, for making this event possible today. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.